Hey everybody, it's Ole aka Chalk1 from Battlefield Podcast, and this is another special edition for episode 147. We are back this week without the usual suspects. Instead, I am once again part of a Tricast panel hosted by Scannerbarkly alongside YNOTtheTiger, Billythekid, and PTFODylan, and we talk all about the PlayStation 4 event that happened this past week. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy. The footage in the background is, ironically, Xbox 360 footage, and a lot of knifing. Ever since those DICE-approved tags have been on my neck, I get knifed a lot. Just want to point that out. Please enjoy, and here's Scanner.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Tricast. I am joined once again by the last panel that I had who blazed the trail with their intellectual prowess. So I reassembled them again. I am joined by Billythekid, Battlefield Podcast Ole, aka Chalk1, PTFODylan, who comes from the land of badassery and gun skill, and then Tony, who's American.
Thank you.
Wow. You got the burn, Tony, because you were actually at the end of the list on the Skype screen, and I was just running down. So sorry about that, but
that's okay. But it's a true statement.
It is, exactly. I wasn't lying. You are American.
It's true.
And people can interpret how they choose to.
Oh shit!
So today we're going to talk about. Well, first we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the PS4 announcement and quasi reveal. So, Billy, I'll start with you. You're first on the line. How did that make you feel?
Well, PS4 is what we wanted to see. PS4 is what we didn't get to see. I thought they were going to reveal it. They didn't quasi-reveal. I think it's a good step forward, but I'll wait until it comes out and see what it's going to be like.
Wait till you've got more details.
Mm.
What about you, Ole?
Well, I agree. I mean, I thought they could have shown something, even if it was some sort of artistic drawing or something from a napkin. I don't know. But the services look cool. They certainly, I think, for people who have bad internet, they're going to kill themselves because a lot of those cool features really require good internet, I would assume. Even though they had the guy there talking about how it's all going to be nice and easy. But in the reality, if you talk to some people who get like a meg and a half down and 0.2 up or something, they're not going to have as much fun with it as others.
So if you've got Billy's line.
I wasn't going to point fingers at anybody in particular, but
harsh. What about you, Dylan?
Well, the main thing, which obviously the PS4 wasn't shown, so I waited 2 straight hours to see that. Was disappointed, but the good thing, at least what we saw, was that Sony is really focusing on games and not much else. We saw one thing about Move, but for the most part it's core games, which is the main reason that they've convinced me to get it probably day one if I can. So I was very impressed with the conference in general.
Cool. What about you, Tony?
I think the two things to take away from that, what I would say is I was looking for sort of a concept, what the PS4 was going to look like. I mean, it's not really, to be honest, it's not as important as I think everyone thinks it should be. But I mean, we kind of want to know. But price was definitely something that I was looking for, which they didn't announce at all. The only thing that concerns me, and I think it's a dumb aspect, is the whole social integration that they're pushing. And especially when you look back, and I don't want to get back to the whole when the PSN got hacked, people were worried about their private, their credit card information or whatever. Now, could you imagine the PSN getting hacked if it's connected to your Facebook or MySpace page or Google Hangout or whatever?
Yeah.
So suddenly, not only is your credit card information made available to whoever has hacked the system, but all of a sudden your name, your background, whatever private information you do put on there that's accessible from the network. So I don't know why, I don't know what the push is for this integration of social networking into gaming. I still think that they're two separate entities that aren't really ready to gel yet. Because could you imagine if you get on Facebook and all of a sudden you see someone posting oh, I earned a trophy in this game and I earned a trophy. So you're seeing this person's trophies however often they do it. It's does this person do anything besides game? So it puts a negative connotation on whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
For whoever's if because I don't know. I don't want to get into the cultural aspect, but it just seems like gaming is becoming more popular, but it's not to the point where everybody does it, and it's okay to spend 4, 5, 6 hours a day gaming. We still see TV as like the more appropriate way of spending your leisure time than gaming for whatever reason. So to see that like on a social network, I don't. It's kind of rubbing me the wrong way.
But the good thing is they have confirmed, if I'm correct, that it's optional. So it's not actually thrown on us. We can choose to play offline, not offline, but you know what I mean. You can play online, but not be socially integrated.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. When there was that thing that I said, remember when they were talking about they wanted to get beyond gamer tags basically and like have your name and profile. And then for us who are on YouTube and we want privacy to a certain extent, that's information that I know a lot of people, even the definitely the big YouTubers, don't want out there.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I don't know about you guys, but I don't play a lot with people that are on my sort of personal social media stuff, like people I have on Facebook. I don't game with them. The people that I game with, they're two separate groups, and I kind of like to keep them separate.
Exactly. Yeah. I've got like 2 or 3 of the dudes that I know real world that I game with regularly, but that's it out of everyone that I know real world.
Yeah.
That'd be it. And another thing that would concern me is like, people want to be on your friends list. No matter how big or small you are on YouTube, you've got people there who enjoy gaming with you and would like the concept of gaming with you. So you add them to your friends list, and then all of a sudden, adding someone to your friends list has them seeing your Facebook.
Did they mention that?
Yeah.
Or?
And shit like that. It would all be, I can see it being really useful in one way. Like you set up, in my case, I set up my Twitter and I set up my email and I set up my fucking Scannerbarkly Facebook or whatever. And then it's all just there. And it's always pumping out fucking useless bullshit information about me 24/7 and annoying the fuck out of people. So, it'll be useful if you're one of those bigger guys who likes to constantly be in your subs' Twitter streams and shit like that and constantly have people seeing your name. Like, yes, they'll be able to utilize it, but I think if you're even remotely privately minded, or if you like being able to walk away, if you like to sit at your computer, you're doing your thing, and then you walk away from your computer and you're not, they're the kind of people who are just going to shirk it off and go, I have nothing useful to do with this connectivity thing. I just want to play my fucking games.
Yeah.
I think you've got the whole, I don't know, privacy issue or whatever, but the push for social is good in the sense that they're introducing a lot of innovative features, like that share thing where you get to share, if you're playing Battlefield 4 or 5, I don't know, and you get a really good moment, they've decided to incorporate this share feature where you can share your recent gameplay and then post it up on your profile page for your PSN. Yeah. And it's like, and also when you're looking at your friends list, you can see a live stream of what they're playing. So I think the social, you've got some weird privacy issues there, but I think along with that, there's a lot of really cool features on the way as well for gamers. Like if just even for animals on your friends list, it would be pretty cool to share with them.
Yeah, I can imagine like when the PS4 comes out and BF4 comes out, there were like 50 people sharing you. Ha! I knifed you. I defibbed you here.
Yeah, it's like this is me doing something stupid. Oh shit! I just realized it's going to turn Facebook into Reddit on fucking steroids. All those goddamn Imgur pictures are going to be replaced by videos of pointless retarded crap instead of just screenshots. Like, no offense to Reddit, I'm sure somebody on there somewhere made a good post once, but
yeah, the very first one I think was right.
It was lost to the sands of time.
Welcome to Reddit.
Yeah, so the social aspect anyway is kind of, it's there, and it's gonna, I think, like, I'd like to see more details before I kind of decide how much they're pushing it, but I'm reasonably certain they're doing it because of things like Farmville and stuff like that. You're on your Facebook and all you see is your friend who's playing Mafia Wars is still playing Mafia Wars, and you're horribly, painfully aware of the existence of the game. And that's had a lot to do with the success of the game as people go and check it out. So they're probably trying to butt into that realm of, look, you know, if you're at a computer and you're gaming, then maybe you like gaming more than you currently do, and maybe you want to invest in that feeling that is gaming. And you know, most of us, I reckon, bought our main systems, whatever they are at the time, probably influenced quite highly by our real life circle of friends, especially back in the day, pre-multiplayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a Sega Drive or Sega Mega Drive and your buddy has a Sega Mega Drive, then you can start buying different games and sharing them and shit like that. And that mentality stays. And then it was lost for a while because of multiplayer, because we're all playing with people from all over the world. But, you know, multiplayer kind of has been around for longer than social media. So now it's multiplayer morphing to meet social media.
Well, you see that in games coming out all the time, not just Farmville, but, you know, EA's mobile games and all the stuff that's happening on iPhones, iPads. You can barely find a game that doesn't somewhere have a thing that lets you log into Facebook and find anybody of your friends that's also playing the game, and then send them stuff where they come to you and send you stuff, you know. So it's all over the place already. So it's really just a matter of time for it to get to the consoles.
Yeah, it's already in the software now. It's just hitting the firmware.
Yeah.
So do you think that's like the difference between, I don't know, sharing information, or do you think this is like cheap advertisement?
Well, it's both.
Because I mean, how many times do you actually, you know, give two shits about what someone has done, you know, on whatever game they're playing? It's on a browser-based game. When I hate seeing those as like, you know, John Smith has just, you know, killed 3 people in Mafia Wars. I'm like, oh fuck, I don't care. Why is it taking up part of the timeline?
Yeah, exactly. You see, that might be as well, because in my experience, gamers are obviously, you know, by definition, incredibly passionate about gaming. But they also tend to circle off aspects of their lives that they consider to have fuck all to do with gaming.
Yeah.
And
You know what?
my Facebook is definitely one place where it's like, if I see somebody playing some shitty game, I just fucking, you know, block them.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to know, because I kind of get offended that that's what they consider gaming to be as well. I think there's that level of arrogance within me that it's like, you're not a gamer. Don't even pretend. It's like you're playing some crap app on a worse website on a terrible monitor with shit internet. It's like I get passionately raw about it.
Well, you know, it's going away from the PS4 discussion, but like, I think the core market of what these companies and publishers are after these days has changed too, right? Because it used to be the hardcore gamers, people like us who'd go and buy the $2,000 computer or whatever, and now it is the kind of people that will play Farmville for 47 hours a week and bother 85 of their friends to send them sheeps or something like that. For some reason, you know, it's shifted, so they're focusing in a different direction, and I think that some of our features that we would have liked to see are no longer the priority of the big companies.
Yeah. Or at the very least, they're trying to integrate everything. Like, you can tell by the specs and even their entire revamp of their architecture that they've listened to the complaints of both customer and developer with regards to the PS3 and what it was able to do. Like, what it could do, it could do incredibly well, but so many developers got headaches trying to develop for it. And they've really listened to them now, because if you're keeping a developer happy and if you're giving a developer a good tool, they're going to make you a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
You know, if they can like run wild with their imagination and not be limited in what they can do because they're trying to develop for 3 very different systems, and then they dump one altogether because it's such an ass ache. And I even think stuff like the success of things like Minecraft and Braid and, you know, Fez, all that stuff, you know, did so well. If they're thinking, right, you know, indie guys, if we're giving indie guys something that they can develop for, we're going to have that next Minecraft is going to be on the PS4.
Yeah. I think it was some, I forget the name of him, but it was an indie developer who showcased their game on the Sony event. And I read this through pretty quickly. I don't know what game they made, but they went up to the Sony stage anyway. But it wasn't them who actually went to Sony to ask, can we go to this event and show off our game? Sony went to them and then said, what do you want to see in terms of architecture, in terms of ease of development and stuff? And it's pretty clear. I think one of them said, even the indie developer, they said from the Xbox 720 development kit, Sony's is far easier to work with in terms of just being able to get your vision on the platform as easy as possible. So yeah, the likelihood of another Minecraft for Sony's platform especially is pretty likely, I would say.
So that's they're trying to that's the feeling I get. They're trying to be all things to all people with it, and it could either work really well or it could all just backfire horribly and everything feels slightly stilted because it didn't get quite enough attention. But I'm really hoping it's the first one, that everything just works really well, because I like PlayStations.
Yeah. I think this is the first PlayStation to be developed by a Western team, not a Eastern, Japanese team. In terms of the hardware and the software, I believe it's Western engineers working on it, and I think that's made it a lot easier, I guess, for a Western audience anyway. To there's a lot more common sense going into it. Like, there's not as many unnecessarily complicated features going into the system that nobody will care about. So
that nobody uses.
Are you calling the Japanese unnecessarily complicated?
Well, I love the PS3, and all the PlayStations, but I mean, there's so much stuff in the PS3 which has just caused problems for developers and gamers alike, and that seems to be solved for the PS4. So I don't know.
It'll be a good one.
Yeah, as we sit here speculating about it, we'll see, I guess, when they start actually developing games and such.
Yeah.
But, speaking of that, what do you guys think about the controller?
Brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. It has a nice big blue light on the back of it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
You know what's
You
funny?
like that?
You can always see your feet.
The funny thing about... Yeah. It's... What's that guy, Yoshida, the head of the worldwide studios for Sony? You know the way that light, it's supposed to give feedback on what's happening in the game or something along those lines. They say if when you're holding the controller, you see the color of the light and it correlates to something on screen. But somebody on Reddit pointed out that the light itself is basically under the controller, so you can never see it while you're playing. Yeah. So I do not get the logic behind that.
Depends.
I would imagine it's mainly a motion style thing.
Probably depends on the throw of the light. Like, if it's thrown out enough, a kind of pimping ass car underneath, where it's if you can see it like on your lap or something, then yes, there's obvious feedback. But if it's just going to sit there and glow meekly to itself, it does feel like a kind of a pointless venture.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Do you think the reason for a touchscreen? Do you think that them putting it in there?
What is the reason for it? Did they explain? Because I might have missed that. I only saw it sort of vaguely.
I don't remember them saying anything about it.
The only functionality I noticed, it was during the Unreal Engine 4 tech demo. They were able to use that touchpad to, like, you would swipe in the direction that you want to look at, so it would kind of slightly move the camera from side to side. But apart from that, they didn't really mention much about its uses.
What I'd like to see from that screen is that's where your inventory is in, like, first-person shooters and stuff. Like, imagine playing Mass Effect 3, right?
Yeah.
And you've got those screens where you choose your weapons and your armed powers from.
Yeah.
But instead of having to stop play to go into a menu and pick them, you just poke them on the controller. It's like, okay, I want to blast this guy with this, and you hit him with it.
Yeah.
That would be actually a very, very interesting thing for me as a gamer, because I hate being pulled out into a menu.
But what else? A friend pointed out to me that the touchscreen, don't know if Sony's confirmed this or not, but basically everyone is saying, you know, like developers or whatever, from what I've heard, the touchpad is clickable as well. So it's kind of a button in itself as well as a touchpad. But what I was thinking, if you go in a game like Skyrim or whatever the next Oblivion game or Fallout game will be, you're walking about and then you click the touch screen, so it clicks down and that opens your map, and then you can swipe it to go through the map. So it's maybe a smoother experience in that respect.
Yeah, that'd all be pretty cool.
It seems too small to be able to use like from a map like that, but when you scanners, you say like inventory, I can kind of see that. If you want to be able to, without having to pause or go to another menu to look through your inventory, if you can just look through it right there, I can see that. Yeah. I don't know if it was Billy that kind of had, he and I, maybe it was, I don't know if it was you, like had that like feeling about in Mass Effect, like switching guns. Because at first I'm like, I think the menu system they have works really well. I mean, yeah, it takes you out of the action for a second, but for me, there's a sense of urgency when you have to like switch weapons like that. You're like, oh shit, I'm in the middle of a firefight. I need a better gun. Yeah. And so it seems to heighten the experience for me instead of being like, oh, okay, I'll just like click here with my finger and then boom, there's my rocket launcher that I'm looking for. Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't. I mean, I see what you're saying and I think I like it. My apprehension to that is if it is forced upon you. If you, for me, I don't know about you guys, I'm like a creature of habit. So I want to have those menu systems that I'm used to, and without being forced into something else. Like, I don't know, say Gran Turismo, for instance. Like, I've always played with the D-pad, and so in GT5, you could play with the D-pad or you could play with the analog sticks. And so I will race with the D-pad over the analog sticks because that's just what I'm used to, and I prefer it. So as long as they have the option of, well, you can, if that is the case later on, where you can actually use this touchscreen for like inventory, or switch weapons and such, then I'll be like, okay, cool, that'll be cool. But as long as you can have both options.
And not only that, but I hate the fact that if it is like that, where you can use it for inventory, I don't want to be looking down at the controller and taking my eyes off the screen. You know, I have to switch to a rocket launcher. I look back up the screen, I'm dead.
Yeah, but there's the thing, though. You don't need to look at the controller to push a button.
Right.
And eventually it just falls into your pattern of, with that game, you can land pinpoint on the item you need on the touchscreen without needing to look at it.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing. Like, it's that same thing of, it feels weird for the first hour, and then because you're a gamer and you're so used to adapting to different systems across different games, you know, the first time you pick up any game, the menu system is mildly confusing, and then an hour later you're burning through it. And you know, it'll just be like, options are always the best thing. Like, give us options. Can you imagine, like, you know, I've got a mouse for my PC which has assorted buttons on it, and I can map those buttons to whatever I want. And I've got this one little thumb button that I've mapped now. It's my reload in every first-person shooter, and I actually cannot imagine playing a first-person shooter now without being able to reload using my thumb like that. Yeah. Just like click. And for the first hour, it was weird as shit when a friend of mine told me to do it, and now it's just completely natural to me.
Yeah.
And like, I'll probably end up playing on the PS3, moving my thumb, going, why aren't I reloading? You know, this movement should reload me, because that's just, I don't know, it just feels weird. So gamers adapt pretty good, because most of us have been adapting for like a decade plus to our chosen pastime and the changes within it, I guess.
And you know what? At least the controller is still basically the same layout and design and function and stuff of what we're used to. And that touchscreen, who knows what that can give us? I mean, I would imagine in the beginning that's not going to be all that revolutionary until developers come up with cool ideas on what to do with it. But I mean, just think like 4 or 5 years down the road. I mean, you can do that just going back on PS3 and just how games have evolved over the years there, and people are going to find uses for it that I don't think we could even dream of right now.
Yeah, people are going to do stuff with it. Who was it? It was Woody. I watched Woody's video during the week on the PS4, and he kind of pointed out well that like what had made Apple so successful wasn't actually the tech itself. It was how people who developed apps for the tech embraced it and what it could do. And it would be that same thing, that Sony will develop a system, and some dude sat somewhere who has nothing got to do with Sony will come up with some incredible use for it that they've never even considered, and they'll just sit there and go, oh, that's cool.
And then suddenly you're going to be like, how can I ever play a game without a controller with a touchscreen on it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And everyone will be raging when the PS5 comes out. They'll be like, they better not get rid of the touchscreen
They'll have
controller.
4 touchscreens on it. Or something.
If they do, I'll go Xbox.
Well, you know what? It's funny you should say that, because that's something I didn't think about. Like, well, people will need to innovate for it. And as you're talking, I'm like, oh, it'd be cool is if the PS3 controller or the PS4 controller was like modular in the way that like the Xbox controller is. We can attach, like a keyboard, attach different things to it. Could you imagine being able to attach like a bigger touch screen to it, like maybe to the bottom or whatever by your thumbs? See? Oh, now we're thinking.
Maybe. Yeah.
That'd be.
They've got a jack at the bottom of the controller as well. An audio jack anyway for a headset, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if anyone saw that.
That
Oh,
makes
the PS4 controller?
They're going to be rolling party chat.
Yep.
I hope so. I
They
really
have
do.
to.
They've got it on the Vita, so I don't see why it wouldn't come to the PS4.
Yeah, exactly. And it's entirely necessary.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
Especially with all-
it is.
With all the social talk they're doing, that would be ridiculous if they don't do.
Yeah,
parties.
seriously. Well, because I mean, if they're gonna do this whole like take over my game thing over the internet, like how would you be able to tell someone to take over your game in the first place?
Yep.
Well, actually,
Without a party
I'm curious what you guys think about that, because when that first came out, I had a lot of negative tweets on my Twitter timeline about people complaining about how that's against the spirit of gaming or something like that. The whole idea of someone else doing it for you.
But
I'm
you
not
see,
saying
that's
what
the
I'm saying.
thing. It's not. For me, it's absolutely not against the spirit of gaming.
That's what I
because
thought.
I'm like, I've been gaming long enough that I still haven't. A lot of people who are gamers, multiplayer was always a thing for them. You could always go online. You could always play with other people. For me, I've got twice as much time gaming-wise invested in like a decade and a half when you couldn't do shit like that. You had to go to people's houses.
Yeah.
And if you got stuck on a boss and you got pissed off at the boss, you handed it to your buddy who was better at the game than you, and he beat the boss for you.
Yeah.
And it was
That's
like,
exactly what I was
can't
thinking.
beat this guy. You take care, man. You were pissed that you had to do it, and you went down a rung in the room on the alpha male gaming ladder because you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But that was the point.
I would say either that or you just went up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start, and you just cheated your way through the game.
Gabba gabba hey for infinite ammo.
That's right. Back in the day when you could just cheat and no one would be the wiser. You're like, oh yeah, I totally beat that game. It took like 20 minutes.
There was no Battle Eye or Punk Buster or any of this stuff.
Yeah.
You cheated.
I don't see how that would. I don't really see how that would be a big thing. I mean, multiplayer, yeah, that's a little different because of all the stats tracking now. So it's not a representation of like you as a player. But if you're playing single player, who gives a shit?
Yeah, it should be very, very easy. Like, if there is enough of a problem, the game, like the system, will obviously recognize.
Well, the game can tell that it wasn't you doing it, right? I would imagine if you're inviting Billy to help you out in this scene, then it can probably keep track of that or something, and if that was needed.
Count whatever happens in that period of time towards my stats.
Sure.
Oh, I guess there are a lot of people who are trophy purists out there, like you didn't platinum that game because you didn't get that last trophy by yourself.
Yeah.
So that's not me, though.
I don't have any feelings for it one way or the other because, like, who gives a shit? Who cares if you're, like, playing against some dude down the internet or, like, his friend down some other part of the internet? It doesn't matter.
It is one of those things, though, that comes back down to internet speeds, right? Companies have tried letting people stream games off of other systems before, and it really hasn't worked all that well. So, if you want to get somebody that's halfway across the world to help you out in a game, and their internet's not up to snuff, I can't see that working out too well until everybody actually gets to a decent connection where that's not a big problem with lag and things.
We have to hope that Gaikai does most of the work. Like this network, they're speaking a lot about it, but I don't know. Like, did you hear, like, the prototype Gaikai network broke a Guinness World Record or something? They said at the conference.
Yeah.
About speed or something. I don't know.
Because they bought Gaikai for like 360 million or something.
Yeah.
Like, stock and barrel.
But
all the stuff, and
they also set those speed records from, like, they're somewhere in Silicon Valley from, like, one town to the next or something. I mean, in real world, you start talking, you're in Ireland and somebody's in California and you got somebody in Australia and stuff like that. It's just beat records, whatever.
I guess they've spoke so much about Gaikai and they've invested so much into it that I would like to think they've got it functioning fine at this point, or by release anyway, but we'll have to see.
Sony aren't stupid. Sometimes they're overly optimistic, but they're not like blatantly stupid the way I've seen. Like Nintendo will always have such a kind of place in, personally for me, gaming culture and like my gamer heart for what they've done. But they can be really stupid.
Yeah,
that's just how they work. Sega, the same thing. Did amazing things, kind of made gaming happen in conjunction with like Nintendo on a grand scale. But once again, they can be really stupid.
Yeah. I think the main thing that came through at the Sony conference was that they're more humble now. Like, you compare that to E3 2006, I think it was. And you had, Kaz Hirai saying that back then he was saying that people would work 2 jobs to buy a PlayStation and all. They were really arrogant about decisions that they made, especially in the architecture and everything, but they seem to be more humble and about the customer now.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll hopefully steer them away from more stupid decisions.
Possibly because they finally crawled into that first place for units sold against the Xbox.
Yeah, when was that? That was
just last month, I think.
Yeah.
They finally outsold the Xbox. So they're like, okay, maybe the brash arrogance, maybe that doesn't work, especially in the current climate where people are actually, the funny thing is now we're sitting here looking at these game companies going, like, I might have a bad addiction to pixels, but you really gotta make me want to buy this because I'm making a decision not to have something in order to have the console. Yeah. It's a completely different kind of, world now that they're releasing into. PS3, there was, everybody had mad loot. We were rolling around in piles of money. It was awesome. And now, not so much.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. We haven't talked about the specs at all.
Specs, yes.
Like, personally, I don't really care.
I do. When I heard, throughout the last few months, I've been like just staring at all these rumors about whether or not the PS4 would have 4 gigabytes of RAM or 8 gigabytes of RAM. Mainly because I hear that Microsoft's going with 8 gigabytes. And when I heard 8 gigabytes was Sony's choice, that just, like, 8 gigabytes was a great thing to hear for me, mainly because it's going to extend what consoles can do by so much compared to if they went with a lower amount.
Yeah.
But, I was very glad to see that they revealed the specs, just because if they weren't going to reveal the console itself, it was good they at least let us know the potential of what it could actually do specs-wise.
Yeah. The hardest thing to judge with specs on consoles, for me personally, is if you look at a game that looks like God of War 3, just the way it looks.
Yeah.
And go back to the release date for the PS3 and show somebody footage of God of War, they'd be like, oh, is that going to be on the next gen? Is that going to be PS4?
Yeah.
Because there's no way you could imagine somebody being able to develop a game that looks that way.
And that's usually how it goes, right? I think the biggest thing about the specs on the PS4 now is how they compare it to the next Xbox. Because like you said, 4 years down the road, whatever game comes out then is still going to look better than any launch titles, even though the hardware is going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, people will just have gotten better at working with it and kind of exploiting what it's capable of doing and building better engines for it and all that stuff.
On PC, it's almost a little bit easier for developers because they know, 3 years down the road, we have that much more hardware to work with. When you're designing for a console, you still have the same platform to work with that you had 3-4 years ago or whatever.
Yeah,
but you have to find a way to make it better somehow. It's got to be your next game has to look better than your previous game.
Yeah,
Kind of.
you can kind of bog down a PC a little bit. With stuff, you can stop worrying about the low end after a while, because some games are just that big or have that big of an impact upon release that people will buy a new graphics card to play it.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. You're not worrying constantly about, if you're a PC developer, you're not saying, oh, we really got to optimize for, dual cores. And everyone's like, dual cores, don't worry about those guys. They'll buy a new CPU.
Yeah, you can be inefficient with it. You don't have to, you can just say, oh, well, just buy it, upgrade. Your thing's 2 years old. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. So with the consoles, though, they can't do that. So they're very conscious of always getting more with each iteration of each engine. Even Battlefield 3. I know everybody shits on like the console versions, but the game looks and plays and sounds far beyond what I expected would be achievable on the PS3 hardware.
Yeah.
So,
How does everybody think Battlefield? If you take Battlefield 3 in ultra settings right now on a pretty decent PC, how does that compare to the likes of Killzone, for example, on the PS4? Is it similar, do you think, or what's this?
it's hard to tell because the gloss on each game is so different. The one thing that really surprised me about that, Shadowfall Killzone was that it looked, and loads of people said it, and I agree with them, it looked like Crysis.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Everything was clean and pristine and almost like a slightly more metallic-y, less neon Halo.
Yeah.
And I'm used to my Killzone being up to its knees in dirt and blood. That kind of vibe. So I was kind of blown away. But
heavy vibe, a very heavy vibe.
Battlefield, like Battlefield 3 on Ultra on a chunky PC, is stunning. It's actually like, I was playing it last night for the first time and I was just kind of slightly taken aback by how I was reacting to the game. It felt sad after having like 900 hours put into Battlefield that I could see this new kind of version of it and just be like, oh my god.
It's like you saw it for the first time.
Yeah, but it's impossible to say without playing for the experience. But purely visual, you'd kind of edge with the Killzone thing looked a little better, but that's hard to tell if that's the art direction or the fact that it's sci-fi, everything looks a little better.
Yeah.
Because it's all imagined and idealized.
Well, see, I hopped on BF3 tonight and I set it on full ultra settings I was curious because I wanted to see, I set Killzone, that new Killzone on 1080p up on my monitor, and then I tried out Battlefield 3 on 900p, I think, because that's my monitor. But I set it on ultra settings, and I'm just thinking if Battlefield wants to run at 60 FPS next generation, which I assume they will want to do to compete with Call of Duty, I'm wondering, will that, like, how long, if it does go 60 FPS, how long will its graphics stay relevant? I don't know. Like, it seems to me that Frostbite 2 might be phased out pretty quickly by other games on PS4, like Killzone, which is running at 30 FPS. So.
Yeah, you have to wonder though if like what way did they develop Frostbite and what else are they working on? Like they're obviously, I can't see EA not being willing to bankroll Frostbite 3.
Well, and they keep talking about how Battlefield 3 is only using like 40% or so of the Frostbite 2 engine's capabilities.
Yeah, and the fact that they're making mad loot by other people buying the engine to make their games in.
Yeah. So, 100% of a Frostbite 2 engine may be sort of a Frostbite 3, just without a different name.
Yeah, something's going to happen either at launch or within a couple of months of launch. That's probably going to be Frostbite, for the next gen.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean,
it won't make a huge deal about it until DICE drops something, though. They'll use one game as a tester and a bug finder, and then they'll be like, yes, this is, Frostbite 3. And Jesus, imagine if Frostbite 3 does what Frostbite 2 did. Like, compared to Bad Company, yes, you could blow up more stuff, no doubt about it, but you couldn't blow that stuff into such small bits that bounced around so realistically.
Yeah.
Like, stuff just kind of fell in on itself.
Yeah.
And that was fine. But there's probably far more like complexity to a single rubble drop in Battlefield 4 than there was to a building coming down in Bad Company.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, I don't know, man. I like the physics, the possibilities of physics engines. Me and a friend of mine, Aaron, we completely nerded out in Skype the day after the PS4 when we were talking about like stealth games, let's say.
Yeah.
Where you're playing Dishonored and you dive into water, and when you come out of the water, you're dripping a water trail for a realistic period of time, which guards can spot and follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And oh my god, like, and the best thing is that most games, I kind of mentioned it in a video I did during the week in the comments section. I was chatting with a friend of mine, and he was saying that not too many PC games do it now, and they're capable of doing it. And I just said, yeah, that's true, but you cannot have a game mechanic with a full game balanced around the existence of even that minor mechanic and then have to remove it for consoles because there's no parity of experience whatsoever. It's like, you can't have X, Y, and Z affecting the game on PC, and that's not affecting the game at all, because it's a completely different game, because it requires completely different level design. If you can no longer leave trails, they need more guards, the guards needs new routes, and it's just completely different. So I'm hoping that one thing the new hardware does is free up all these options that I know are doable on PC, like in Arma, when you stick a 50 cal round into the rotor blades of a helicopter, it messes it up.
Awesome. That's cool.
You can bring that thing down by taking out different parts. You shoot it in the gas tank, it loses fuel.
That is cool. I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, that's cool.
So that kind of stuff will make developers sit back and think and go, because gamers will find the skill required to do whatever needs doing.
Yeah.
Like, you watch Battlefield 3, and you think of like everybody's first game of Battlefield 3 was probably like running around mentally going, oh my god, what do you do? Now you're seeing clips where guys are easily one-shotting guys out of helicopters really far away with a Rex, just because that's how well they know the game.
Yeah.
It's just like, pop, instant headshot with a Rex from back here. And you're like, damn, fair play. Like, gamers will, like, there's some small part of the community that will rise to whatever challenge a game can provide. And then the rest of us will enviously try and do the same.
And those engines, like the improvements over time, you always start off with the big things first. Frostbite engine comes out and it's destruction. It's like, oh my god, I can take down a whole building, which is exciting and really cool. And then as tech gets better, it's the small things that improve that you don't really notice as much beforehand, but suddenly they're the things that are just like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because it really should come down like that, or it should affect that, or there should be a little crater when you throw a grenade, terrain deformation, stuff like that. It's almost like the more exciting the technology gets, the smaller the changes become, but they make it all that much more realistic and cool to look at.
Definitely.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, work away, Billy.
I was just going to ask, what did you think of the demos that were shown?
Yeah, the physics demos blew my mind.
Oh yeah. How many objects was that?
A million.
Have again? Whoa.
There was a million objects, and I've rewatched the footage over and over again of that tech demo, and I'm convinced that the objects that were falling on cloth were bouncing differently to the ones that were falling on like stone.
That's cool.
That would be interesting to use like in the engine for rain and all these different types of weather. Can you imagine that?
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's going to be insane.
Games like Assassin's Creed, when you're bombing across the roof and you land on an awning, you get more bounce and stuff. Things like that are going to be... That's the coolest thing about... I think it's what long-term PC gamers forget, is that genuine, awesome culture shock of new hardware for console dedicates.
Yeah.
It's like that jump the first time you plug in the PS3 after being on PS2 for so long, and you just drool all over the screen at what's happening. And, PC gamers look at that and go, oh, that's old news. We've been doing that on PC since forever. But it's like, yeah, who gives a shit? It's like, this is me and my experience as a gamer, and I'm allowed to sit here and be blown away. This is genuinely, exciting to me. So don't rain on my damn parade.
And I think it's a benefit for PC gamers as well. If you look at Frostbite 2, I think the lack of destruction was not a limit on the engine's part, but because they had to keep that feature. As far as I know, destruction was equal across PC and consoles, was it?
Yeah, it seems
BFB,
you can blow up the same stuff, but one thing I've noticed on PC is very different amounts of particleization on stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, when these new consoles come out and the technology that they have, especially you said, Scanner, with the physics engines, that's Frostbite 2. Those type of engines are gonna just evolve so much. For multi-platform games in general are going to be amazing in terms of physics. I don't think PC multi-platforms have got that yet. Frostbite 2 in particular, I think a lot more can be done in terms of destruction, and they were just waiting for new-gen consoles to come out.
And then maybe one of the reasons they say it's using X% of the capabilities is because of that.
Yeah.
That same thing of they can't have, we mentioned that in the last one, the last, group Tricast we did, where we were saying that they couldn't have something like the falling Caspian border thing. They couldn't have that on PC and not on the consoles.
Yeah,
because it would just feel weird. So if they wanted to bring down the Op Firestorm fuel depot at the end of that round, or make it destructible during the round, they just wouldn't be able to do that on console. But now they can if they want to.
Yeah.
So they can go. There's no more limitation now. Where the contrast between PC and console is that much less. So PC gamers are going to get more.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What do you lads think about the fact that you won't be able to physically put in a PS3 disc and run it on a PS4, but you can maybe buy it again and run it
and stream it? You can do that as well.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. It'll be PS3 games and PS2 and all that kind of stuff. They were saying even if you buy it online, and you can't download those games and play it natively on the PS4, because before it was you had this exclusive PlayStation architecture, and now it's off-the-shelf PC parts, so you can't run that natively. PS3, PS2 games, they won't run on the local PS4 itself, so what they're saying is that you have to stream it. So I guess the whole worry will be, like Oli said earlier, I think, about the limitations of people's internet as to being able to do that, but at least they're giving you the option. That's what I'm happy about, at least.
Yeah. One thing I can kind of see happening is a version of their current PlayStation Plus, which is one of the best things that they actually do.
Yeah.
Value for money wise. And I can see that being integrated into the streaming concept, where it stops being a case of you get your free game every week. And it becomes, you can stream from, these 10 titles this week if you want.
That would be cool.
You pick the one you want, and then you can stream and play that for as long as you're a member.
And that is where all their plans for demos and stuff are going towards, right? Is you don't download a game to demo it, you just stream it for 3 days or whatever, and then buy it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a good agenda they have going on. In the PS Store, they're saying that you can always try the game first before you buy it. So the whole agenda is try before you buy, so you're not being misled and thinking the game is brilliant and then buying it, potentially wasting your money and then not enjoying it. You get to play it immediately as soon as you see it before you get to buy it. So that's a really cool thing I think they have going.
Yep,
for themselves.
definitely, because everybody's done that. Everybody's gone out and bought a game and
Yeah.
just thought it sucked.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, damn, I feel like I actually feel like I've been ripped off. I'm not even gonna lie to myself.
Yeah, especially taking into Medal of Honor Warfare.
Oh, dear. See, I didn't buy that game. I saw that whole thing coming. It was something, I don't know what it was, but Medal of Honor.
I bought it and I still like it. And the funniest thing is, I refuse to apologize for liking it. It's like I was thinking about it last night. I was thinking about Aliens: Colonial Marines,
Yeah.
which I bought and I like. And I'm like, why do I like this game when it's so flawed? And then I decided I'm not even going to try and explain it to myself. I'm just going to enjoy the game, because when I sit down and I'm tired and I just want to watch a stupid movie and I put on like Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus and I watch the shit out of that film that somebody made for $10, I don't apologize and I don't go, I shouldn't like this because it's bad. It's good because it's bad. And I've decided games can be like that too.
Yeah.
I think
You're starting to talk into the cult status of things now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
More
It's
just
that-
the base enjoyment.
Yeah, we all have a few games that people say are bad, but we, as individuals, enjoy.
Yeah,
I
there's
think.
just something about the game that's attractive. Man, we went all over the place while we were talking about this shit. Just like last time, it always goes off track. And I can see Tony disapproving, kind of going, we should be talking about PlayStation 4.
Me?
All right.
No.
Yeah,
You guys talk. You guys get in your tech talk. I put myself on mute and I damn near fell asleep.
You damn academic.
I was like, oh my god, here goes the PC guys rattling on about tech specs and shit. I'm like, all right, does it look pretty? Yes or no? That's all I care about. I'm the consumer level technical person, I guess.
Yeah. Like, that was another cool thing, actually, that did look very, well, not pretty, but it certainly looked impressive, was, the old dude's head.
Jimmy Savile?
Yeah,
Jimmy.
Jimmy Savile. the rendering of Jimmy Savile's sexiest look. I mean, it looked amazing, and I could just imagine, the characters that I interact with in games now suddenly having that level of detail and that level of facial movement. And one thing that is like a world apart in gaming, like, is voice acting.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you've got some really talented, people being willing to do voices for games.
Yeah, I mean, when you take into fact that Resident Evil 1 for the PS1, it was a great game, but the voice acting could have been a little bit better. I mean, you had Barry going, you were almost a Jill sandwich and all these crazy lines. And then you take into fact Metal Gear Solid 1. When it came out, it was like one of the first big stealth games. And it really pioneered the stealth genre and it had a great story and had brilliant voice acting. It was like one of the first games that had like Hollywood style voice acting. And I think like voice acting takes the game a step further in enjoyment.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to, because the one thing that kind of hinders the effectiveness of voice acting is a poor quality of facial expression on the character while they're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now that no longer becomes an issue, you're actually maybe kind of reaching new kind of tiers of possible, emotive influence of the player.
Mm.
Yeah.
You guys are also missing the fact that you put this lovely lighting and graphics engine or technology for the PlayStation 4, and you put that in concert with 3D technology, and you're going to have yourself a far more immersive experience, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, let's look at, like, L.A. Noire, right? That was a game that sort of prided itself on this, first time ever, face capturing these actors, like actually scanning their faces and capturing and digitizing their actual movements while they're speaking.
Yeah.
And for me, that was really cool, but the game was kind of boring. But it's nice to see like these little miniature innovations, like we were just talking about, Metal Gear, having great voice acting, and now you've got great facial, like minute expressions in say L.A. Noire, and then the next thing you know, you're gonna have these incorporated into all games from here on out in 3D as well.
Talking about PS4, what do you think about them not blocking used games.
Smart.
Yeah, it's a good move.
Why would
I
you? Yeah, why
thought-
would you want to piss off your customers?
Yeah.
We're already used to buying used games. If developers want to be smart about it, they'll do the online pass, like EA does.
Yeah.
You know, you get it for free when you buy the game, but if you buy a used copy, you need an online pass.
Exactly. And there's also the fact that they can complain all they want that, they don't see a share of that sale of the game then, that used sale.
Mm-hmm.
But that's shit. That's total bullshit and is just complete horse crap. Because how many people out there let Mass Effect 1 pass them by because it wasn't on PlayStation, and then they let Mass Effect 2 pass them by because they'd never played Mass Effect 1, and then a friend gave them their copy of Mass Effect 2, or they went into whatever shop and Mass Effect 2 was there for $10 and they were like, okay, I'll buy that.
Mm-hmm.
And that person played Mass Effect 2, enjoyed the crap out of it, and was a day one buyer of Mass Effect 3,
Exactly. Yeah.
who never would have bought it otherwise.
Yeah.
So there is a positive benefit to devs and publishers from this sale, and it does affect positively the sales, especially of already established and iterated, IPs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would argue if. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
No, well, I was going to say, if you cut out used game sales, I would argue that would affect the industry way more negatively in terms of who buys or how many people buy a new game than the system they have in now. Because nobody wants, the casual consumer is not going to buy, new games, 15 times a year or whatever, compared to now where they buy, maybe 15 pre-owned games and then get the next game because they enjoy those. So
There's two things too that, I mean, would they love to get a share out of used game sales? Of course they would, right? I mean, if they could charge you $50 a month to play your game, of course they would love to do that. But and the other thing too is games like, I'm thinking Battlefield 3, and the reason it continues to be a financial success for so long is because people still keep going back into it. And whether it's on sales for cheap or getting used copies at GameStop or whatever, I know everybody's going towards the digital thing, but I don't think the time's quite there yet where the big companies can just say, you know what, GameStop, we don't care about your portion of your used games business, which must be a fairly significant portion, that they can just say, no, you're just not going to be able to do that anymore. So not only would they piss off the consumers, but they'd also piss off all those companies that make money off of buying and selling used games again.
Yeah, exactly. And they need them. And oftentimes the used sales are what's keeping those companies in the game.
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
They're not doing enough business on the new titles, but they're staying afloat because of the used sales.
And whether that's an online pass or a DLC, you might get a used copy of BF3, you buy your online pass, you really like it, and you go buy Armored Kill. No one would do that, but Aftermath,
Yeah, no one, people would rapidly be told not to buy Armored Kill.
It's a really bad example. If I'm going to pick one of the DLCs to buy individually, I don't think it would be Armored Kill, but...
Yeah. It'd be like, there's some guy sat on an Armored Kill somewhere server right now, hoping someone else shows up. That's how well that DLC did. But right, we're not going to shit on Armored Kill because I feel bad about it, and I almost feel like I have to go and play around the tank superiority every time I do.
It is really good in TDM, actually. The maps are quite good for it.
Better.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely.
But that's right. We've kind of covered all manner of shit about the PS4. Is there anything people want to say about the PS4 that we haven't covered?
I think a closing comment I'd like to say is that overall, with this streaming technology, they've made a few innovations with being able to see what your friends are playing and being able to try new games on the store before you buy them, and being able to play PS1, apparently being able to play all these previous PlayStation titles on even your mobile phone, allegedly. But this is technology that is exclusive to Sony right now, the purchase of Gaikai, and I don't see Microsoft having that technology right now. And I think going into next gen, that could maybe give them a big advantage if they use it right. So,
I mean, personally, I think when it comes out, I don't know whether I'm going to buy it or not because of A, the price, and B, I think I might give it like 3 or 4 months just to see if it's riddled with bugs or it's overheating or it's exploding in people's faces. So yeah, I think I might give it like 3 or 4 months and see what the reviews are like. If people are saying it's overheating or it needs patches, I might as well wait 3 or 4 months to let the price drop a little bit.
Yeah. I'll buy day one.
Me too.
Simply, like, there's a couple of reasons, I guess, why I'll buy day one. I've never been able to buy a new console day one before. And I was explaining it to my father the way, like, when people normally buy their first brand new car, it's that same feeling when you can day one a console and just for the sheer hell of it, like, I'm looking forward to that. I've also noticed that if there's one thing Sony tend to do right, it's have really good launch titles.
Yeah, Killzone Shadowfall is going to be one of them.
Yeah, that's going to be a launch title. Like GTA 3 was a launch for the PS2.
Yeah, I remember that.
All right.
And, that was like kind of, holy shit, what's happening? What has computer gaming turned into?
Yeah.
But, like, there are two kind of reasons. Like, it's probably going to have a pretty strong catalog, and it will just be nice to do it. But it is entirely possible that something revealed over the next couple of months might actually dent my desire to be a day oneer. That's what I'm curious about. Will they do anything or say anything that pisses me off to the point where I wait to spend my money? Because they're perfectly capable of doing that too.
Yeah.
Now, you guys are all... I've met you guys all because of the PS3. Would there be anything Microsoft could come up with for their next console that would make you change your mind and say, if I can only buy one of the two, I would get an Xbox 720?
I would say their online service had become free for me.
That's the only thing for me as well.
Yeah. Because I know the way my brain works, if I woke up in a world where everyone I knew right now on PS3 was buying the next Xbox, I'd buy it.
I think that would be,
Because I like playing games with the people that I know right now. And I feel bad for people that I'll meet in future because I don't really care about them because I have a ton of cool people that I can play games with. That kind of vibe. Like, new people will always fall in, but I've got a big group of awesome folk that I game with right now. So if they all made a decision to change, I would change just to stay gaming with them.
Yeah.
And I've no problem admitting that because I've talked endlessly about the social side and how that impacts our purchasing choices. So yeah, that's what it would take for me. If they attracted all my current gaming friends to it, then yeah, I would. I'd definitely go Xbox.
Yeah.
For me, I've always been a long time PlayStation person, and not because I'm brand loyal. It's just because I've always been like a big sports racing person. Shooters were always PC for me until PlayStation 3. And for me, if I were to make a switch, Xbox would have to become the premier sports game console. Because like right now, I don't think it is. Like, they've got shitty baseball games. Madden's pretty much the same on both consoles. So I get to be honest, I guess it's baseball that make it or break it. Because what a 2K series baseball just blows by comparison to MLB The Show, which is developed by Sony. So that would be a big thing for me. If everyone jumped ship to go, play on the Xbox, I would just find myself a new round of friends, I guess. I don't know.
Screw you. So basically what you're saying is you don't value the people you know the way I value the people you know.
There's a difference between the online friends and my real life friends. I know my real life friends are dedicated PlayStation people, and those people are going to stay PlayStation. So whatever the ebbs and flows of the online community, however they go, that's not going to change my decision to stay with Sony. I had an Xbox for like about a year, and it sat and collected dust, and so I just opted to just get rid of it. It was too. I want to say too expensive because I mean, it just sat there. But I mean, the online, the Xbox Live was costing me like $60 or whatever for the year, whatever it was, and it was just, I don't know, a black hole of $60. That's a game going down the toilet, and I'm not jumping on to play.
Yeah, that's Madden every year.
Yeah, it's Madden, or it's a baseball game, or it's Battlefield, or it's DLC, or whatever. It's just money that's going nowhere. But I don't know. For me, it's not going to be into my equation at all. The biggest thing, of course, it'd be like a computer, like as a good PC, like going to be something that's going to sway me from playing console games from here on out.
Yeah. I'm not gonna get hung up on talking about like kind of PC versus console in any way, because where I am right now, having just switched to PC.
You're in the honeymoon period right now. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Like my opinion would be kind of flawed because I'm, basically randy about PC gaming right now, and I actually want to cover that completely on its own in future. Strangely enough, but damn, I could go on and on. I really could. But we had another topic that we were thinking about doing, and we're actually gone up on. We're a little over an hour now. On this, so I think we'll just let this be the PS4 chat, because I particularly like this panel. I have to say it's good because everyone gives each other room to talk, and everybody's always got a different slant, and that's hard to find. So I think we might close this one out and save the other topic and leave the listeners hanging on what the other topic might be, so they'll come back for more. Suckers.
That's a great idea.
Suckers.
So everybody say their goodbyes. Billy, we'll start with you. Say something funny.
Clibbity cloobs.
That is funny. I know. Is there anything like you want to say to people, or drop links or hints or stuff that you've got coming up on your various channels that they might like? Anything at all? Self-advertisement time.
Oh, I can't do that. I really can't.
All right.
Come see my channel if you want to see some content of mine. I do some funny commentaries. I do some live comms. I do a nice variety of video games. Come check my channel out if you want.
Billy actually does have, I swear to God, one of the best channels on YouTube right now. I don't give a shit anyone says. His channel is just endlessly entertaining. You've actually completely replaced some people that I used to find really entertaining. I'm like, no, now they're just dull. Billy is actually entertaining. So it's pretty weird. Ole, what about you? Do you want to big up the Battlefield podcast?
Yeah, well, sure. Battlefieldpodcast.com. We just rebuilt that so that all the important stuff you need to know is on there. So that way these things are a lot shorter. Just battlefieldpodcast.com.
Yeah,
and thanks for having me on again, because this is awesome.
No worries. And make sure you check out battlefieldpodcast.com, because Ole and Darkness, who run it, just got their DICE approved tags, and you don't get those for nothing, so they're putting the work in, so they deserve attention.
Nice.
Thank you.
So Dylan.
Yes. Not much to say. I do some Bad Company 2 gameplay commentary, and it's on the PC, but I will hopefully be returning to PlayStation soon, because I have a huge amount of nostalgia at the minute for going back there full time. So yeah, commentaries, weapon reviews, some trailer analyses, maybe, especially with the new PS4 games coming up, and that's me. So thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, no worries, man. It's actually like these last two podcasts I've loved, so I plan on reconvening us all again in future for sure. Tony, big yourself up. You deserve it.
What I was going to say is that, dude, nobody comes back from PC to console. Man, it's a black fucking hole. PC world is. Everyone I've ever known who has gone from console to PC, it's like, oh, hey, where's so-and-so? No, he's playing Arma, he's playing DayZ, he's playing PlanetSide. I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, see, all my personal friends have been on asking me, when are you coming back to PSN?
Yeah, just not happening. You got to go to PC rehab.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Back to the console. So that's funny when you say that. Like, oh, I'm getting nostalgia for the console. You're gonna pick up the controller and be like, what is this Stone Age piece of shit? So, anyways, my channel, I'm actually going through a little bit of identity crisis on my channel right now because I've been really busy with school. So, I've been trying to, I don't know, I try to do thought-provoking commentaries. That's kind of how I got started, and it's the videos that I actually like watching more than anything else. So I do try to put that on there. So if you do come by, take a look, see if you like anything, subscribe if you do. If not, then, leave a dislike or something. And it's you, I don't care.
Oh man! And just because I know this is going to be going up on sort of channels, my channel is just random shit right now. It's a large clusterfuck of random crap. Because I've just moved to PC and deserted Tony to console land, and I can tell he's judging me for it.
Not judging you. I can just tell you're the kid in the candy store right now that you're just like grabbing every cool thing and you're putting it up.
Yeah, and most of it's free. It's epic, man. Free to play is the way to play. But yeah, there's all kinds of shit. I do quite a bit of Battlefield. There's some Blacklight Retribution. That's going to become part of my channel. I can feel it because it's just that good. Crisis 3, PlanetSide, lots of other random shit. Oh, DayZ. Oh yeah, the DayZ. I'm going to have to play my PC right now. But that's it for this one, guys. All the links and such are in the description or will be. And thanks very much for watching and all the best.